22. The villain in my nightmare. Lavanya's POV. He stepped closer, his movements slow and deliberate, until he stood mere inches from me. I could feel the warmth radiating from his body, but I remained silent. What is he doing? You know what, love? When I return to California, I think I'll miss being here. So, for me, that shirt will be a cherished memory of yours. Something I'll treasure like a pearl found in the depths of the ocean. He murmured in a sensuous tone, his gaze never wavering from mine. My breath hitched at his poetic words. I opened my mouth to respond, but nothing came out. What am I supposed to say? I don't have any words either. My inner voice betrayed me. He exhaled suddenly, his warm breath brushing against my face. Instinctively, I closed my eyes. When I opened them again after a few breaths, he was gone. My heart skipped. I glanced around, searching for him, but he was nowhere in sight. Pushing myself upright from the kitchen counter, I straightened. Where did he go? Mr. Dawson? I called hesitantly. Yeah? His voice came from somewhere on the floor. I turned my head in that direction, only to find him kneeling on one knee. My eyes widened. Oh my God! What is he doing? Is he? No, it can't be. Whoa, what are you doing, sir? I stammered, my voice laced with nerves. The apple, he replied, his eyes fixed on the floor. Huh? I accidentally dropped it, he clarified. Oh, the apple. But I can't see it. It's too dark under the cabinets, he added, sounding defeated as he stood up again. Snapping out of my stunned state, I too started looking for it. The problem was, the entire duplex was dimly lit. Unlike the bright lights I was accustomed to, only soft lamps hung from the walls, casting a warm glow reminiscent of a fine dining restaurant. Then my eyes landed on a small round object beneath the fridge. I think I found it, I announced, walking over. Bending slightly, I retrieved the apple. Here, I said, rinsing it in the sink before handing it back to him. Thanks, he sighed with a smile. We returned to the living room. He settled on the far left of the couch and switched on the TV. Should I sit? I think not. I can't sit on the same couch. I remained standing, absently staring at the TV screen. At least he had turned it on. Perhaps it would ease the awkwardness between us. Miss Lavanya? He called, drawing my gaze to him. Aren't you tired? His eyes flickered to me before returning to the screen. Your legs are going to ache if you keep standing like that. If you don't want to watch TV, you can go rest in my room. It's upstairs. I'm not sure if the room on this floor is clean. I've never used it. I sleep late, so I'm keeping this couch for myself. That's surprisingly considerate. But it's only 8:50 p.m. I don't sleep this early either, I pointed out, glancing at the wall clock. Then please have a seat, he said, gesturing toward the empty space beside him. Should I? Well, as far as I know him, he wouldn't try anything indecent with me, would he? Really? Are you sure about that? My inner voice taunted. Because last time I checked, you were crying and sobbing when he danced with you. And what about the other day, when he took you to a hotel and locked you in a room with him? The memory of his past wild behavior resurfaced. I know he's rude and lacks manners, but his intentions have never been bad. Oh really? Good for you then. But Lavanya, never forget what Virat sir said the other day. This young, famous, successful American businessman is a Casanova. My inner voice warned. But why should I care? It's not like I'm dating him. Are you okay, Miss Lavanya? His voice jolted me from my serious inner debate. Huh? You're overthinking, love, he remarked, making me gape at him. How does he know that? No, he's just guessing. No, it's nothing, I replied, clearing my throat. After a few moments of hesitation, I took the far right corner of the sofa. He glanced at me before resuming his search through the channels. What would you like to watch, Miss Lavanya? He asked casually. I like Bollywood movies, I answered. You do? He looked at me with interest, and I nodded with a smile. What kind of movies? He asked again. Action, comedy, romance, thriller, mystery, or horror? At the last word, his eyes widened dramatically, making me giggle. Drama, romance, comedy, I replied. Soft, light-hearted films, huh? He mused, smiling. He can talk like a normal person. It amazed me how easy it felt to converse with him. Yet, as a boss, his intimidating eyes and commanding tone had the power to unnerve anyone. And what about you, sir? I asked, keeping the conversation going while watching him. Depends on my mood, he replied with a heavy sigh, his eyes fixed on the screen. And what's your mood right now? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. My eyes remained on him, widening a second later. What? Are you mad? Why would you ask him something like that, you silly girl? My inner voice scolded. He suddenly turned his head, his gaze locking onto mine. An awkward silence stretched between us before he finally replied, Miss Lavanya, tonight I'm in a very romantic musical mood. At his words, my heart pounded like a drum. He paused before looking back at the screen. Can you suggest some good music channels? I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Stupid girl. Channels starting from 321 are all music channels, sir, I informed him. You like music? He asked, while flipping through the channels. Are you seriously asking an Indian girl whether she likes music or not? I raised an eyebrow. India without music is unthinkable. I love old Bollywood songs, I added dreamily. He glanced at me with a smirk before silently continuing to press the buttons on the remote. He stopped at a channel playing classic romantic songs. The name of the channel was Golden Era. Placing the remote on the tea table, he leaned back into the couch, resting his head. A smile spread across my face when I saw the song playing. Though he wasn't looking at me, I gave him a grateful smile before turning my attention back to the screen. That is so sweet of him. From the corner of my eye, I glanced at him again. He was watching with such interest that I finally allowed myself to relax. My gaze kept shifting between the TV and him, flickering back and forth. Why do you keep staring at him? That's not the behavior of a good girl. You do know that, right? My inner voice mocked. Just then, the opening notes of a song drew my attention to the screen. Oh, it's my favorite song.
Jackie's POV, lying back and listening to these old songs, very old songs, I nearly drifted off. They were undeniably melodious, but also incredibly slow. Suddenly, the song changed, and from my right, I heard a voice. Fir chidi rat, bat fulon ki, rataya barat fulon ki. She had started singing. I was caught completely off guard. My head snapped toward her. My eyes widened in surprise. My mouth fell slightly open. My eyebrows lifted, and I blinked slowly as if everything had shifted into slow motion. She's singing. Wow. She can sing. My God, her voice is so melodious. I glanced at the screen where the actors on screen gazed intensely at each other, lip-syncing the lyrics. The visuals made it clear that this was a romantic song. But my attention returned to her. She seemed so at ease. Her face peaceful. Her blinks grew slower. Her voice gradually fading. A faint smile lingered on her lips as she surrendered to sleep. Then suddenly her voice stopped altogether. Her eyes remained closed this time. Her lips were slightly parted, her head resting against the back of the couch. It was the most captivating sight of a woman I had ever witnessed in my life. Slowly, I picked up the remote from the table, turned off the TV, and placed it back without making a sound. Though I had a luxurious bed in my room, the thought of sleeping there tonight didn't appeal to me. Not when I had the chance to watch her sleep. The couch suddenly felt far more inviting. This is a golden opportunity. She's worth watching on a sleepless night. I turned to my right, lifted my feet off the floor, and curled up on the couch. Resting my right cheek against the back of my left palm, I settled in, my hands resting on the backrest. Exhaling a contented sigh, I gazed at her, feeling an odd sense of peace just watching her sleep like a baby. As I shifted slightly on the couch, I noticed her head beginning to slide downward, toward me. Oh no, 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 no. She was going to wake up. To stop her from hitting her head against the couch, I instinctively moved closer, reaching out to steady her. Carefully, I held her left shoulder, gently balancing her body before resting her head on my lap. "What the hell are you up to?" my inner voice whispered loudly. "What? Why did you do that, huh?" "Shut the fuck up. I don't want to ruin her sleep." A small smile played on my lips as I felt the warmth of her body resting on my lap. Her long hair cascaded over the couch, the ends tickling my right foot. Gently, I adjusted her hair to one side and ran my fingers along her soft cheek. As I took in her delicate features, an inexplicable longing grew within me. My palms ached to cup her cheeks, my lips craved the feel of her skin, and my heart, my damn heart, yearned for her in ways I couldn't explain. My thumb traced lightly over her soft pink lips, gliding from left to right. I fought the overwhelming urge to kiss her, battling against the very temptation she unknowingly ignited in me. This girl, the more you looked at her, the more you wanted her. She was intoxicating, and in that moment she was so close that looking away felt impossible. Without thinking, I bent down and brushed my lips against her forehead. That was my mistake. The instant I touched her, an electric sensation shot through my body, making me shudder. My lips tingled, my pulse raced, and as if drawn by an invisible force, I found myself slowly tilting my face upward. Now, our lips were barely an inch apart. Her nose grazed my chin, her breath warm against my skin. My eyes dropped from her closed eyelids to her lips. And then I kissed her. Wow. Her lips were unbelievably soft, like rose petals. It was just a gentle touch, barely a kiss at all. But even that was enough to send a wave of longing crashing over me. My body begged for more, but I clenched my fists, forcing myself to stop. Closing my eyes, I pulled back. I can't do this to her. It's wrong. I needed to control myself.
Lavanya's POV. I sat in my room, staring at my reflection in the mirror. The girl looking back at me was dressed in an exquisite bridal lehenga, adorned with matching gold jewelry and full bridal makeup. Then I heard a knock at the door. Adjusting my veil, I stood up and walked over to open it. A group of my friends and cousin sisters stood outside, giggling excitedly. They led me toward a large stage where my parents were already waiting, their expressions unreadable. Are they happy? Yes, they were smiling. But their eyes were wet. Are they crying? But why? A nervous flutter settled in my stomach. What is going on? I wanted to ask them, but my voice wouldn't come out. Why am I not saying anything? Is something wrong with my voice? Before I could process it further, the girls guided me onto the stage. A man was already seated beside me, dressed in an off-white jacquard sherwani and a red pagdi, his face hidden behind a sierra made of delicate white lilies. In front of us, a pandit chanted mantras, his voice steady and rhythmic. Hey, that's when it hit me. This is a wedding ceremony. Oh, am I getting married? But to whom? Anxiously, I turned to my right, desperate to see the man beside me. Slowly, he lifted his sehra, revealing his face. My breath caught. It was him. The one man I truly admired. Virat Oberoi. Virat, sir? He smiled at me, that same kind, familiar smile he always had. My eyelashes fluttered and my cheeks. Oh, don't even ask about my cheeks. I looked up at my parents, searching for reassurance. They smiled warmly and nodded, silently giving me their blessing. They're allowing me to marry him. Joy surged through me. I turned back to the Pandit and let him continue chanting the wedding mantras. I am more than happy. I am marrying Virat sir. When the Pandit asked Virat sir to apply sindoor to the parting of my hair, he took a pinch of the red vermilion powder between his right index finger and thumb, then reached towards me. I tilted my forehead forward, closing my eyes in anticipation. Now, I understand why this is considered the most precious moment in a woman's life. Several moments passed, yet I felt nothing. Impatient, I slowly opened my eyes, only to find that everything around me had changed. The colors, the people, the stage gone. Virat sir, the Pandit, my parents, my cousins, the guests, everyone had vanished. I stood alone. I looked around, confused. The wedding hall had disappeared, replaced by a grand church. Everything was white. The candles, the walls, the flowers, the decorations. Even the air felt different. And I was no longer seated. I was standing. Where am I? Where is everyone? I turned around and saw a long red carpet stretching behind me, leading toward the church's main entrance. Rows of chairs lined either side, covered in white silk with red satin ribbons tied neatly around them. But they were empty. Not a single soul was inside. I didn't understand. Where did they all go? I turned a little more, peering through my translucent veil weight. My veil is white. I looked down at myself, and my heart skipped a beat. The rich, ornate Indian bridal lehenga I had been wearing was gone. In its place was a flowing white lace wedding gown. Layers of delicate fabric cascaded down in elegant flares. What is happening? When did I change my outfit? Suddenly, a deep voice spoke beside me. Do you accept this man as beloved husband? I turned to my right and saw a priest standing beside me holding a book. His face was blurred by the organza veil covering my eyes. What? The priest repeated his question, his voice steady and solemn. That's when it clicked. Oh, the Indian wedding must be over. Now I'm having a Christian wedding ceremony. But why? It must be Virat sir's idea. He always finds ways to surprise me. A small, secret smile crept onto my lips. Beneath my veil, I shook my head slightly, hiding my blush. Do you? The priest asked again, his tone expectant. What am I supposed to say? Oh wait, I've seen this in Hollywood movies. Yes, I knew the answer. Without hesitation, I declared, I do. Suddenly, the sound of applause filled the church. I turned my head to the left and was taken aback. The once empty church was now packed with people. Rows of men, women, and children clapped joyously, their faces beaming. My family was there, but among them were unfamiliar faces, foreign guests, smiling warmly, celebrating with us. They look American. Who are they? Well, whoever they were, they had come to bless our marriage, and for that, I was deeply grateful. Now, you may kiss the bride, the priest announced. My breath hitched. Slowly, I turned towards my husband, my life partner, my everything from this day forward. A rush of warmth spread across my cheeks as my eyes met his. He stood before me, looking breathtakingly handsome in a silver grey suit, paired with a crisp white shirt and a matching grey vest. A neatly folded red satin pocket square adorned his left breast pocket. My gaze drifted downward to his polished black shoes. My blush deepened. He's going to kiss me in front of my family, in front of all these people? Is he really that bold? I wasn't so sure. Then his left hand reached for the hem of my veil, lifting it slowly. As he tucked it behind my head, my breath caught in my throat. My face was fully revealed. I squeezed my eyes shut, inhaling deeply. I couldn't bring myself to watch him kiss me. I can't meet his eyes. His fingers, warm and steady, caught my chin. With his index finger and thumb, he tilted my face upward. The next thing I felt was the brush of his lips against mine. My heart skipped a beat. His lips were warm, soft, and utterly intoxicating. The kiss deepened, growing more intense, more urgent. He caught my lower lip between his own, and my breath faltered. The only air I could take in was his scent, rich and mesmerizing. It's like my oxygen. I could live forever just breathing him in. His lips moved against mine in a slow, rhythmic dance. They no longer felt foreign. They felt like they were meant to be there, as if they were a part of me. And then, reality crashed into me. Oh, there are people around us. They must be staring. Virat sir, we have to stop. I tried to pull away, but his grip shifted. His hands slipped around my waist, pulling me flush against him. My body collided with his firm muscles, my palms now resting against his chest. His lips didn't leave mine. His breathing grew heavier, his chest rising and falling beneath my hands. And then he leaned in further, pressing me back slightly. My right foot curled as I slid it backward, struggling to keep my balance. The kiss became more urgent, more desperate. This is becoming strange. Why is he kissing me like this? Virat sir, please, control yourself. And then a sharp sting. A bite. Ouch! What was that? My eyes snapped open in shock, but I couldn't fully focus on his face. His lips were still locked on mine. But something was wrong. Something was very wrong. When he finally opened his eyes, my stomach twisted. His irises, they weren't brown. They were blue. A bright, distinctive cayenne blue. What? That wasn't Virat sir's eye color. Indians don't have such eyes. Virat sir doesn't have such eyes. No, something wasn't right. Something was. I stared deeper into them, feeling a strange familiarity. I knew these eyes. I had seen these eyes before. But whose? No. Straightening, I shoved against his chest with all my strength. With a forceful jerk, he stumbled back 2 steps, finally breaking the kiss. And then, my eyes truly focused on his face. No. Virat Oberoi was gone. Standing before me, breathless and full of desire, was Jackie Dawson. His eyes burned with an intensity I had never seen before. I gasped, my entire body trembling. Then, from the depths of my chest, I screamed, a raw, desperate cry, loud enough to shatter through the thick church walls. No!